All right, next question while I am struggling with this desk. Best ways to work around the algorithm. So social media algorithm, it's always changing. It's always a big thing how to take advantage of it or how to get seen. It's interesting. Hey, what's up everyone? So as you can see, I have just moved and not set up my studio yet. So I thought this would be a fun little special episode where I answer some of your questions. So a few weeks ago, I had asked on Instagram for some questions and a bunch of you sent me questions about dance, about camera stuff. So I'm just gonna answer them as I go, and we're hopefully gonna build up my desk setup. If you don't wanna hear about this adventure, skip to these time codes to get your answers question. It's the day before the big move, so I have to disassemble my office space and move everything over to the new townhouse or condo today because I do not want to put my equipment in the moving truck. So here it is, all of this, and then the shelf. Most of the things have been already moved, but I have to break it down because I don't think we can move it into where it needs to be like this. So that's gonna be kind of annoying because I also have the LED lights taped onto the back, so I have to figure out if I can keep these or I'm gonna have to buy new ones for that. But here we go. I'm at the new place dropping off a few things and thought I'd show you a sneak peek before we start putting stuff in here. I was super excited when I saw this loft area. So you'll see here, the previous owner had put sound foam on all of this. And then this is all blank still. I haven't put any of my equipment up here yet, or actually a lot of it's in the closet because we just painted it. Before, the previous owner had like a purple, gold stripe, black theme. This was his like video gaming cave. But it was a little dark and I still actually wasn't sure which way I was gonna face the studio. Originally, I was thinking my camera would be this way, so that way all that depth would be behind me and get like nice shallow depth of field. But then I was like, I have to keep the entire place always clean, and that just never happens, like very rarely. You get back from a job, you throw things down, and yeah, so I was like, I don't know how realistic that is. And then there's this railing here, and so I wasn't quite sure about the layout. So I think what we're gonna do now instead is have my desk here, camera pointing that way. So my shelf will actually be right here. It's like just the right height there. It stinks because I'm gonna cover up those Ethernet ports and those outlets. Hopefully this will be okay. I'll have to double check that. But that's the current thought, at least. We shall see. Or I guess I could always point my camera that way and put it here. That way I could have this area to still like store stuff and it could be a little more messy, more of a lounge space. But I do like how this is blank, so I kind of was hoping I could take our old projector and point it this way. So if my desk record area is over there, this could maybe like have a chair here, projector, watch stuff, work on stuff here. So yeah, we'll see. And there's a nice little skylight. But some stuff, most of it will be tomorrow. We're gonna have to actually, I think, take off that rail so we can hoist my desk and other things up because there's no way some of that stuff is gonna fit up these stairs. So we shall see. So earlier today, my brother came and we took down this railing so we could lift my desk, the chest, a bunch of stuff up here. So I haven't been able to actually work on this until today. We moved in 2 days ago and it was pretty intense. I actually got a little sick. I'm starting to feel better now. Yeah, it's been really fun trying to visualize how things are going to be put together, and I'm still figuring it out. So hopefully once I do this, I'll feel good about it and it's not gonna change, but we shall see. Taylor says, lens recommendations. So, hey Taylor, what's up? Taylor's actually one of my students at the studio. She's an incredibly talented dancer and also starting to do some photography stuff. So check out her Instagram. I will put it right here on the screen. But Taylor does a combination of dance stuff, portrait stuff, sports stuff, And so that is always tricky when people ask for lens recommendations, because it really depends on your budget and what kind of stuff you are taking pictures of. So for Taylor specifically, because you do a lot of different stuff, I'm gonna recommend a couple different things. Now, I think a good starting lens, I think she already has, is a 50 millimeter. Whoopsies. Or what they call Nifty 50. It's usually a pretty cheap lens because it's a prime, and then it's a good starting point. It has a fast aperture usually, so in low light situations, that can be helpful, and then not too expensive. Now, after that, I personally like to go either more on the wide side or more on the telephoto, not really a medium range. So not necessarily worrying about something in the 24 to 70 range yet. I would prefer personally to go for something like a 16 millimeter prime. Prime meaning, again, it doesn't zoom, so you're stuck at that one focal length. Sorry, I'm just gonna focus on this real quick. Ugh. So I love the 16 millimeter for dance stuff or action stuff if you can get up close, because it really magnifies and exaggerates everything. Now for portraits, not a good look. And for something like sports, if you're at a track meet, a 16 millimeter isn't necessarily the best thing because you can't get as close as you really need to. In that situation, you really need to be pretty up close for that to work. So if you are able to, I would actually say maybe don't get a prime, get a zoom lens, because it's just a little more versatile depending on where you are and what you're doing. So she shoots Canon, but I'm gonna make this a little more general. Say you have a kit lens, and that's usually something in the mid range, like 24 to 105 range. Personally, my next lens, I think what you'd get the most bang for your buck, is something in the 16 to 35 range. Something in there. Sometimes if you have a crop sensor lens, it's like a 10 to 20, or like a 15 to 35 or something like that. I think that is super useful, especially for dance. When you're in tight spots like a dance studio, a wide lens is really helpful. After that, I need to take these screws out. After that, on the other end, again, these can get more expensive, so just keep that in mind now. It'd be something like a 70 to 200. That range is also really, really good. Maybe before that, looking at like an 85 prime lens, because you have a little bit more compression, you have a really shallow depth of field. That would be better for like a track meet. It would be really good for portraits. Or if you're in a dance studio where it's a low light situation, you could get some nice like tight shots that are more unique. So it's not always a super wide shot. So I really love the Canon 85 prime, and I'm pretty sure any camera manufacturer, you would love their version of that lens. Also, Sigma is a great third-party source for lenses as well. So I would look at something in the 16 to 35 range, an 85 prime. That's like usually like a f1.8. If you can get it, a 1.2 would be even better, but those are really expensive. And then eventually I would work my way up to something like a 70 to 200, something in that close to 200 range, because then you can really get close to stuff, even if they're far away, like at a track shoot, or at like a dance recital, dance performance, that kind of thing. And I would just be careful. They're cheaper, but if you have something that has I think it's called a variable aperture, where if you are, the more you zoom in, the higher the aperture goes, so it's not a fixed aperture. Those are cheaper, but it's in something where, like in a dance performance, you just have to remember that the more you zoom in, the darker your image is gonna get, so you're gonna have to compensate for that with your ISO or your shutter speed. And I mean, that's something that I had to do all the time when I first started with my kit lens. It was a variable aperture. I don't know if that's the right term, but so I was doing that all the time. But the minute I switched and I got a fixed aperture lens, oh my gosh, it's just so much easier. So yeah, those are the, like, I guess the main things I would just be mindful of when thinking about lenses, which lenses to get. Okay, I don't remember if this is the right side. I actually think maybe it's not, because if I scoot this over, this is way too much on this. Oh man, I have to flip this. Darn. Okay. Hold on. Ugh. How do I do this without breaking everything? Oi. Oh, and this ripped off. That's what that was from. Okay. Okay. By the way, if you're looking for a standing desk, I really like this one by Vivo. Not sponsored or anything, but it's just served me well. I like it. Yeah, so I'll put a link in the description if you're looking for a standing desk. All right, next question while I am struggling with this desk. Amanda, I just met Amanda at the OGD Intensive. Best ways to work around the algorithm. So social media algorithm, it's always changing. It's always a big thing how to take advantage of it or how to get seen. It's interesting the way you worded it, how to get around it. So assuming you want to use social media to grow your presence and, you know, develop a following, all those things. I think the best way to go about it is actually embracing the algorithm or figuring out how to work with it versus trying to think of how to cheat it or trick your way around it or do things that don't require the algorithm. Because the algorithm is always going to be there. And now the annoying thing is it's always going to change. So I understand why we would want to maybe work around it. So that way we don't have to keep changing our strategies, things like that. But realistically, you're never gonna get amazing results if you're trying to work against the algorithm. If you happen to find a strategy that maybe it doesn't seem like it is in line with the algorithm, but it does really well, what that probably means is you've actually just found a way that you enjoy using the algorithm that maybe you don't see a lot of people doing yet, or maybe it's changing and now you're finding ways to enjoy it. So unfortunately, Amanda, I would not say look for ways to get around the algorithm. And I know we had asked some questions about it during the intensive about, you know, multiple platforms and things like that. I think the best way to go about it is figure out what kind of content you enjoy putting out, and then look at the algorithm or look at what is going on social media, and really just take a second look at how can I take that content that I already enjoy doing and just maybe how can I tweak it to optimize it for the algorithm. Because I guarantee the stuff that you are interested in putting out, there's probably an audience for it. There's probably people who are looking for that kind of content, but you just need to find a way for them to see it. And then from there, they will resonate with it and they'll keep following. and you'll grow from there. So for example, if you have a longer piece of content, we all know that, you know, in general, social media is very much leaning towards short form, except for maybe YouTube. But if you have a longer piece of content of you dancing or doing something else, you know, it's a relatively easy thing to do to take that long form piece of content and chop it up into some shorter, maybe more poppy, eye-catching moments that are still true to what is in the long form. But then you can post those and use that to drive eyeballs toward the longer form piece of content. Or for example, if there is a trending piece of music or something, you don't have to necessarily learn that trending dance. We can still use that audio, things like that. And then on top of that, there are just general good practices. Like for a video, you want to make sure you have a really good 3-second hook. So if your videos aren't doing well, I would say take a look at that. Is the first 3 seconds of your video really engaging? Does it leave people wanting more? You know, things like that. What you write in the caption actually does matter. You want to make the copy really, really strong. That's something that I struggle with a lot. I'm not a good writer, but you want to make sure that it is engaging and people want to keep reading it. Another really good strategy is like, are you delivering value to your audience? If it is something that people resonate with, then they're going to want to share it. And that is how you just naturally, organically get more views, and how you quote unquote beat the algorithm, by just delivering value and creating content that people actually enjoy. If you keep creating art or content on social media that you personally are really digging, but you're not seeing a lot of people react to it on social media, then I would, you know, you have to do a little self-reflection as maybe it's not at the quality that it needs to be. And that's just a hard conversation sometimes that as artists, we need to always continue to look back at and reevaluate. Or maybe this is not the right platform for you. Maybe you need to go to YouTube where it's more long form content, or, you know, something like that. Or maybe you're just not packaging it well in a way that draws people's attention. So there are a lot of different reasons why things don't do well on social media. And unfortunately, there's no one solution for everyone why it's not working. So it's just a lot of experimentation and trying, and then if that doesn't work, try something else, and you keep rinsing and repeating, unfortunately. But I hope, Amanda, that helps answer the question a little bit. Where's my phone? Where am I now in this? Okay, let's keep going. Mackenzie, how to add titles or end credits in Davinci Resolve. Actually, really cool that you were asking me. Again, I met Mackenzie at the OGD Intensive. And we were learning Davinci Resolve together because I primarily use Premiere, but I have been wanting to learn how to use Resolve for a while now, because Davinci Resolve is a really awesome free program. Well, the free version is very, very powerful, and it's actually, people use it a lot for color grading their video footage. And it was just one of those things where I learned Premiere Pro first, and so I didn't have the time to really invest into learning Premiere Pro, or DaVinci Resolve, sorry. So Mackenzie, you've inspired me. I think I might make a whole series on like the basics of how to use DaVinci Resolve, and for Premiere too, but that way I can learn it along with you all. But I did research this ahead of time. Basically, you want to go to the editing window, make sure you're in the editing workspace, then make sure you click on the effects tab on the top left. Then on the side left, make sure you click on you want to click on toolbox. You'll see titles there, and then you can just click and drag the title effect you want onto your timeline, and then making sure your title clip is selected, click on the inspector tab on the top right, and there's where you can change all the wording of your titles. So hopefully that helps. And hopefully I will get some more DaVinci Resolve content to you all soon. Ashley asks, I also met at the OGD Intensive. Shout out, how to get most out of iPhone footage. as an Android user, not sure how to best answer this, but some general principles that are good for everyone, and then I will include some, there is a really great video, oh no, did I put this on the wrong side? Hold on a minute. I think I did. Dang it. I had it right the first time, because that connects to here. All right, well, while I unscrew this, but I'll also include a really good video from Landon, I forget his last name, but he just recently took over full-time filmmaker, and he has a really cool video of how he like took his iPhone to Disney and makes this really cinematic footage from that, because you can film in like log now in the newest iPhones and things like that. But some general tips, I would say get out of the default app, camera app on your phone, whether you're using an Android or iPhone, because the auto settings just don't always make it look the best. So if you have a pro video setting on your app, do that, or if you need a third-party app, do that. For iPhones, I think Moment has a really great phone app. They used to have it for Android, and then they discontinued supporting it, which is annoying because I actually really liked it. And if you have Android, Open Camera is a good one. Filmic Pro used to be good, and then they started doing some weird stuff with like a monthly subscription, and I don't like it anymore. But you could also check that one out. But first, I would say get out of auto. Make sure you can manually control your ISO, your shutter speed, aperture, stuff like that. And then, just making sure you're properly exposed. Now, if you have log options on an iPhone or anything like that, take advantage of that. Although I will say log, there's a bit of a learning curve when using it well, and I don't even really use log a ton. The next one I would say is just make sure you film at a higher, not frame rate, what's the word? Resolution. So, phones can shoot at 4K now and all that kind of stuff. So take advantage of those pixels. Okay, let's do this again. I'm gonna put this over here. Okay, walk it back. But that's weird because then... Okay, let's try this. Because this... Then... If it's like this... Okay, there we go. Where was I? So yeah, higher resolution. And then I would also turn off any in-camera image stabilization because it's great for handheld, and in general, it's actually decent for walking, but it's digital enhancements, they just look a little weird. I think you'd get much smoother footage if you turn off image stabilization on your phone and use a phone gimbal like the JHsu instead. You'll just get smoother footage. Like anytime I'm using a gimbal with my R5, I'll turn off the in-camera stabilization because sometimes it will fight against it and it'll create jerky movements. So I would say that's another big one. And then just being, pay attention to where your lighting is. Make sure you have soft light when you are filming to get you the cinematic look. Trying to think of anything else. I'll have to make a more in-depth video about that, but those are some general things that come to mind when it comes to getting the best footage out of your phone, whether it's an iPhone or an Android. And then again, things like log, you can play with it, but it takes a little bit more careful tweaking and editing when it comes to grading that kind of footage. All right. Ashley also says, so I think a lot of people, including myself, get overwhelmed by the amount of options out there when it comes to buying things like tripods, microphones, cameras, etc. Even if they have a budget, there are probably a lot of options within that budget, and which ones should they choose? So I think a good video idea might be listing some equipment recommendations in order of price range. I often find myself buying things simply because a YouTuber recommended it. Me too. It's actually quite a problem because I'll see a YouTuber reviewing a new light or whatever, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I have to buy it, and I shouldn't. But that's actually a great idea. I should definitely do that. So thank you for that idea, Ashley. Obviously, there are so many things that go into considerations when you're trying to think of what to buy, but I will make a list for you all in a future video. Sorry, I'm like so distracted because I'm trying to figure out what I did wrong here. Okay, this is going to connect here. Next question. Jillian, what's up, Jillian? Jillian helped me a bunch with some of my old videos. Actually, my most popular video, the like 3 tips for better dance videos, something like that. Jillian helped me film that. She's the person in the video, my test subject. Can you speak on finding a balance between concert and commercial dance, given the misconceptions each world has for the other? I feel like this could be its own video, but also kind of not for my channel because it's not what my focus is. So it's great that I can talk about it here. As someone who has done more work in the concert dance world versus the commercial world, but I have lots of friends who are in the commercial dance scene. I also know people who have a foot in both of those worlds and are killing it. I think first and foremost, you're always gonna have people who unfortunately just disagree with each other. Yeah, like you're never gonna get around that. And so I think the best thing you can do is, if you're interested in being both in that concert dance space and in the more commercial dance space, then just putting in the work in both of those worlds the best you can, being a good representative of the opposite world when you're in the other one, if that makes sense. So when you're in the concert dance world, being a good representation of what a commercial dancer looks like, and vice versa. And you know, it's kind of like that joke where people say, like, you know, if we're in the world long enough, eventually everyone's gonna be brown. Or like, you know, just because we've like cross-populated, eventually there will be more and more people that are in both worlds, and that those ideas will start to, like, those misconceptions, quote unquote, will like start to fade out. That's my belief anyways. Again, there will always be people who are very hardcore freestyle, for example, or hardcore commercial, this is the thing to do, or competition, or concert dance, or whatever it is. But there will be more and more people as people, you know, collaborate more and more, and people's trainings are blending more and more, that you're gonna see more people like yourself who have a foot in both of these worlds. And so I'll just say embrace it, enjoy the ride, have fun. It's not gonna be easy for sure, but I think it's totally doable. I can think of one person right now who was just on tour with Chris Brown, and I met him at Bates Dance Festival because he was on tour performing with Rennie Harris Pure Movement. And so, you know, again, it is totally doable, while maybe more rare right now for sure, but totally doable. And I think it's gonna become more and more common going into the future, you know, especially just the idea of fusion and collaboration, and all these things are becoming more and more popular. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't learn the foundations and histories of each style. I think that training, that foundation is super important, but once you have that, then the ability to let them all influence you is really, really cool, really, really powerful. And personally, I'm super into that. So yeah, you know, being a hard worker, being diligent in what you do, being disciplined, all those things I think will help in succeeding in both worlds. Hopefully that helps. Yeah. All right. Man, I'm almost at the end of the questions I have, and I've barely made a dent in this desk. So maybe I just need to like focus a little bit more. So after these questions, I'm just gonna work. But anyways, Emily, okay, so I just last week gave an hour talk on, it was pixels to presence, elevating your presence for social media and web, something like that. And so the next couple are actually from that. We had a Q&A at the end, and I thought they were good questions. So I'll start with a shorter one first, actually. So Dar says, we use Canva. Do you have a free video program you use? So yeah, Davinci Resolve. If you're on your computer, Davinci Resolve is amazing. I already mentioned it earlier with Mackenzie's question, but that's a great free, well, powerful program that has a great free version that I would highly recommend. If you are editing on your phone, CapCut is great. CapCut also has a desktop version. I actually personally haven't used CapCut, but I hear so many good things about it, and I've watched a couple YouTubers make tutorials on it, stuff like that. So for phone, for sure, CapCut is great. I also personally I use Premiere Rush, and that is free on phones, not on desktop though. And then yeah, so I would say CapCut is probably the way you want to go. All right, last question for this video. Emily, also from the talk. We've had many conversations about social media for our organization. Do you have a sense of strategy for social media platforms based on demographics? For example, Facebook versus Instagram. How do you feel about influencers, quote unquote, to be planted to help the algorithm? Influencers, meaning like patrons or board members who are ready to like and share. So, ooh, my battery's about to die. Okay. So you know what? I'm just gonna end the video here because I can see it flashing red. I'm not gonna get to this answer. So stay tuned. Make sure you like this video, hit subscribe, hit that bell icon. So next video, when I do answer Emily's question, you'll know when it drops. All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Hopefully I will have the studio up and running again very soon. But in order to do that, I need to focus on putting this desk together. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.